Hey everyone, this is Nick from On Point Krav Maga in Waltham, Massachusetts. This week we're going to be looking at head movement. So that means bobbing and weaving and slipping punches. Hey everyone, so first thing we're going to talk about with head movement is the bob. We usually talk about bobbing and weaving as one thing, but it's actually two separate movements put together. So here's a look at our bob. First, I want to make sure I'm in a good stance. I don't want to be too narrow-footed, I don't want to be too wide-footed. My hands are right up by my face, my chin is tucked, my eyes are up. When I do my bob, I'm going to drop my weight down, bend my knees, and get my head to drop about one head's length down. Now, the bob is a great way to avoid getting hit, but it can also be used as an attack as well. So now when I bob, I can also think about dropping. For us, that's a 7 and an 8. It's a drop 1 and 2, so 7, 8. The important things with the bob to think about are, one, if my feet are too close together, I'm going to end up almost squatting. So again, I want to make sure I have a good base that I can perform this action on. 2, when I do my bob, I want to make sure that my shoulders and my hips stay aligned. So if you look at me from the side, you're not going to see any bend here. I'm going to come straight down and straight back up. Down, right back up. I'm on the balls of my feet, trying to set the weight on your heels. And make sure as I do this, I'm keeping my eyes up. I don't want to look down at the ground. I want to keep an eye on my target. Remember, the goal for any head movement is to set up your counter punch. So I'm not looking to bob and weave and slip a dozen punches. I'm looking to make one motion for one counter punch. And that's your bob. Okay guys, so you've seen the bob by itself, just like so. But to get used to using this more in situations where we're going to need it, let's start adding it in around some of our other punching combinations. We'll start simple. We'll do this as a 1-2, 1-2 and go right into my bob. 1-2, 1-2 is a jab, cross, jab, cross. So here we go. Now, I can also do this as maybe a 1-2, 3. Change it up a little bit. Good. So that is your bob with strikes before, and now we can add strikes after to counterpunch. Say 1-2, 1-2. We'll bob 2, 3, 2. So again, after I bob, I'm going to come back up and counter with a 2, a 3, and a 2. That was a 2, 1, 2. Good. So that's my bob practiced with combinations before and combinations after. This is going to really help me get used to incorporating this movement into my strikes to help me avoid getting hit and eventually modify them to be able to simultaneously block and counter. So far we've seen the bob. We've seen the bob after throwing a punch combination. And we've seen a bob after a punch combination and then counter punches after. So, the nice thing about the bob is that we can actually throw strikes at the same time. So the first punch we're going to learn with this is the number 7 punch. So the number 7 is basically a drop down jab. So the important thing about this is that I maintain the body sponsorship of my jab first and foremost. So I want to make sure when I do this, I rotate my hips, my shoulders, the punch is coming from the floor. I keep my chin tucked, my other hand up, and I recoil. So now as I go into my jab and as I start to rotate my body, I'm now just going to drop my level. So I'm going to drop the weight of my legs and change levels about this much, one head's length. I can step in, I can pop in. But what I want to avoid for this technique, there are times you may want to do this, but I want to avoid being upright and punching down. I want to make sure my body is at the same level as my punch. The next punch we're going to talk about is the number 8 punch. This is essentially a drop number 2. So now, for me, it's a right straight. I'm right-handed, so this is my strong side. Here's my number 2. And again, I'm rotating my hips, I'm rotating my shoulder, I'm sponsoring this punch with my entire body. Now I'm dropping my weight as I do. And that's my number 8 punch. Next, we're going to learn how to add these into combinations that you're already familiar with to help you change levels and get harder to hit. All right, so you've now seen how to bob, and you've seen how to bob before and after combinations, and you've also seen the 7 and 8 punch, which basically shows you how to strike with the bob. So now we're going to put these punches into combinations that should already be kind of familiar to you. They should just require a little bit of a switch. So first combination we're going to throw is a 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to come in, 1, 2, 3. That's a jab cross hook. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now, my 1 is going to turn into a 7. So instead of throwing this as a 1, I'm going to throw it as a 7. 7, 2, 3. I can move in for this if I want. 7, 2, 3. I can imagine the other person throwing a punch. They can set it off. If you have a partner, you can have them swing an arm over you and like they're throwing a hook. You can have them throw a hand out there, so make sure you drop it under the right level. And again, 7, 3. 7, 2, 3. The idea what I want to picture in my head, so this doesn't seem so random to me, is I really want to visualize my attacker. I really want to visualize my opponent reacting to these. So ideally, I'm coming in, and maybe I throw a feint. I throw high, get them to cover high, I drop in. 7. Ideally, the hands are going to drop for a second. I'm going to pop up for my 2 punch. Hands come to the front, and I throw my 3, hit them on the side. So again, this is a training tool, this way of thinking. Nothing's guaranteed to happen, but I want to have a clear picture of where I'm going with this. My next combination I can practice, let's say we do it as a 2, 3, 2. We practice this a lot. Straight, hook, straight. Straight, hook, straight. Now I can add my 8 in the beginning and change levels. Maybe I can add a punch before, so instead of a 1, 2, 3, 2, now I throw 1, 8, 3, 2. 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 8, 3, 2, and go that way. So incorporate these punches into combinations that you're already comfortable with. Get used to changing levels. Just remember, the idea is not to avoid 100 punches in a row. The idea is to avoid that initial strike and then set up your counter punch immediately. If I can set up my counter punch immediately by hitting them as they're throwing it, great. Then that's what I'll do. If I have to set it up with a feint, maybe I throw high, I drop low, and then I come high again. Maybe I'll have to do that. These are all tools for your tool belt, and I hope you start learning how to build things with them. See you next time.